Aru, right? And we are very pleased to have you with us today, right? So today we will be talking about enhancing mobile site experience, and this will be not very technical focus, right? So it actually serve as a purpose or serve as a good start for you to know or find out what you could do in order to improve your site performance further, right? And then you can have your the discussion with your developer afterwards. Also, there's no need to jot down any notes just because you need to put all ears to like all the speakers over here, right? We'll be sharing the presentation slide with you once you have actually filled out the feedback form. So without further ado, let's see what's the content for today. So right now, more than half of the website traffic is actually coming from smartphones and tablets itself, right? And just look around you when you are in a train, bus, or shopping mall. Who is not looking at their smartphone these days, right? And that is exactly why we need to nail the best mobile site experience and to get rid of the friction that is slowing down your your mobile site loading speed. So let's look at again what we will be covering today. There are 4 parts to this webinar session itself. First of all, it will be why is mobile site speed performance so important? So the M here is actually referring to mobile site. Second, how to measure mobile site speed performance, right? Third, how to optimize for mobile speed performance. And last but not least, how to optimize for mobile advertising. So without further ado, let's dive into the first part. Based on the research done by Google, we found out that the top 2 website attributes that matter most to users are actually, first, easy navigation, right? How easy it is to actually navigate around your site. Are there a lot of like different images that is actually containing that are contained on that website itself? Second, the site speed itself. And as a matter of fact, right, 53% of users abandon mobile site that takes more than 3 seconds to load. Also, mobile pages that load 1 second faster see up to 27% increase in conversion rate. And you must be wondering, right, why is the conversion rate, which is the red line, starts to decline for pages that are faster than 2.4 seconds. One of the contributing factors is because most of the faster pages are actually for all error pages, right? And if what I said earlier on has not convinced you, mobile specific page speed is now one of the many ranking signals Google uses today for search engine optimization. And imagine that if the Google system is able to show millions of results, right, within 0.51 seconds here for this search term called Google's page load speed, you definitely want to make sure that your mobile speed loading speed is not the factor that's pulling down your page ranking. So right now, over to Sherry, right? Sherry will be talking about how to measure the mobile site speed performance.
Thank you, Ying. So you guys already know that speed really matters, especially on mobile websites. Now you might wonder, how do you then define what is fast and what is slow? I know some of you just pick up your phones and go to your own website and use your own judgment. Remember that when it comes to your own websites, you might have more patience than your users. You might think it's okay. But what about your users? What about other benchmarks, right? So to improve your speed, you have to be able to measure it with accuracy. Today, I will introduce 2 things you can use to measure your mobile speed performance. The first one is called web page test. The second one is page speed insights. We recommend you to use both of them to test your own websites. This is because they could provide different useful information. Web page test the actual speed by simulating what happens on actual mobile devices. But web page test does not provide recommendations to improve speed. Page speed insights, on the other hand, gauges performance across mobile speed best practices based on your website's code. So it does not simulate the web like how web page test does. However, this tool can provide insights into prioritization and what you can do to improve the speed. We should aim for speed index that is less than 5,000 from web page test and aim for the score of 85 for page speed insights. So this is how our first tool looked like. Mobile, it's called web page test. It's an open source tool that you can access on webpagetest.org/mobile test. So just go there. So how do we test a website with this tool? There are a lot of options there, right? So these are the settings that we recommend. Use a 3G connection. Launch at least 3 tests. This is because individual test results can vary slightly in each time. So that's why we suggest you to do at least 3 times, right? Select first view only so that there is no cache or anything that affects that. Okay. Check emulate mobile browser on the Chrome tab. So these are all the settings that we recommend you to do. And this is how the result looks like. So pretty confusing, right? there are a lot of things here. So as you can see here, it can be complicated to measure the speed of a website because we have hundreds of metrics to choose from, right? Right here, we already have like more than 5, right? So for example, I tested the speed of this website. So what do I have? 5 metrics that give me a speed between 0.8 seconds and 10 seconds. 0.8 seconds and 10 seconds, really? That's a very big gap, right? So every metric has a specific role, but the one that I recommend you to use is the speed index. And then you will ask me why out of all these we should choose speed index. Okay. Because it's the only metric that gives us an information about the perception of speed. Speed index is the average time at which visible parts of the page are displayed. Basically, it measures the loading time of the elements above the fold. Above the fold is the part where you can see without scrolling down the website. And when we talk about mobile speed, we focus on what the user will see first. That's why I recommend you to use the speed index. Here is a really good example of speed perception. Here we can see 2 pages that contain exactly the same resources. As you can see, it looks the same. It actually has the same number of images. CSS, JavaScript look exactly the same, right? So they both load in 2 seconds. But the first one displays the above the fold part in 0.7 seconds. And that's why the speed index is 750, right? The other page displays a blank screen and display the above the fold part in 1.5 seconds. And that's why the speed index is 1005. So the speed index measures the number of milliseconds where we show a blank screen to our users. And this is very important because we don't want to leave users with blank screen for too long. So now that we have covered our first tool, this is our second tool. It's called Google Page Speed Insights. Like I have told you, this tool reads the code on your website and will be able to recommend you some best practices specifically to your websites. There are many things that this tool recommends, and it will be different for each of the websites. So in the next section, I will show you what are these best practices that we recommend on this tool. I will pick the one that people commonly get from the tool and the one that I think are easy to be implemented. I believe these best practices and examples should help you optimize your website better in terms of mobile speed and performance. But before we go any further, I just want to make sure that you guys are still with me. I just want to make sure that I'm not basically boring you or anything. So we have like a little quiz here, right?
So what are the tools you can actually use to measure your mobile website speed, right? So let's see. What are the tools you can use to measure your mobile website speed? Sherry has actually shared a few with us earlier on, right? So just feel free to put in your answer in the Q&A box, right? I see that there are actually a few entries so far, right?
We have a gift to give out today too, right?
Yes, we do.
Do we want to show the swag to people?
Yeah, we do. And depending on which country you're coming from, we will have different gift delivered to your home address or your office address itself. So here, yeah, we already have a few entries so far, right? Congratulations to Jilin Kerr. I'm not too sure if I pronounce your name correctly. Yeah, Jilin Kerr, right? I'm so sorry about pronouncing your name wrongly, and congratulations. So what you need to do next is that you will need to provide us with your name as well as your home address, right, or office address itself in the feedback form so that we can actually deliver the gift to you later on. Yeah.
Okay, so the answer, as Jillian told everyone, the two things that I recommend you guys today, that I introduce to you guys today, are web page test and page speed insights. Okay, so our best practices can be categorized into this framework. First is to decrease your page weight. Second is to give a good first impression. And the last one is to reduce the number of requests. This is like when you are moving into a new apartment. It will be much faster process if the boxes are light and easy to be moved, right? So the boxes are light, that is like decreasing your page weight. You can then unpack the most essential items first, so the new place quickly feels like home. This is like giving a good first impression. And you have less boxes, you require fewer trips between the moving van and the apartment, the old apartment and the new apartment. Then this is like reducing the number of requests. Right? These are the best practices in each category. Again, today I'm going to pick some examples from each category because we don't have that much time. And I will try to make you understand the concept. If you're not developers, if you have people take care of your websites for you, my goal is to make sure that you understand these concepts so you can communicate effectively to your developers. I understand there might be some developers or super users in this webinar too. So I will also give some example codes so you could use them easily. These are the easy techniques that you can use to improve your websites. Right? So first thing first, decrease page weight. Here are the list of things you can do to decrease page weight. But allow me to pick the first one, which is compress and select efficient images as example to show to you today. So images often account for a significant amount of bytes on your website. On average, it takes up around 63% of a page weight. Take a look at this example. My website basically has the picture of a chair, a white chair. It appears on both desktop and mobile website. On desktop, it is big, but when it appears on mobile, it's slightly smaller, right? Depending on the device. So, Aru, do you want to tell everyone how does this work? I think people are getting bored of me, so
Right. So basically, the backend will have multiple images to store, and then depends on the browser request, it will pull the appropriate images for the screen size. Like in this case for desktop and mobile.
Yeah. So in another case, actually most of the case that we find commonly, they actually use the same image at the back end, but then pull it to two devices, and then the image get resized to the device. So basically at the back end, the image is still 1200, but then it shows up as 1200 on desktop, but then show up as 300 on mobile side, right? But at the back end is the same. So actually at the back end image, if the image is of the same size, it takes up the same loading time, even if it might appear smaller on the mobile devices. What happened here is that you're wasting your load time on image that is 1200 in dimension, but only show it as small as 300 on mobile devices, right? So this is because your website might be using this technique to shrink a desktop image to a smaller size on mobile devices. This is very common because it's a very easy thing to do, right? But again, at the back end, the image is the same file. The load time is the same. Okay. So to avoid this, we recommend you to use the source set attribute, srcset attribute. If you are confused, why am I showing you the code here? This is basically says that you have different size of images at the back end. Then you will use the image according to the size of the screen. So if the screen is big, you will pull out the big size images. If the screen is small, you will then load another image that is of smaller size. So this is how it is done.
Yeah, so basically it's, another analogy that you could use is like for human beings, right? If you're S size, you wear an S size t-shirt, you're M size, you wear an M size t-shirt. So this is basically how it works for this feature that, Sherry is actually talking about.
Yeah, so basically is instead of buying a free size
Yes,
shirt,
exactly.
you get it like SML.
Yeah.
Okay, so you load it.
You tailor it accordingly.
Yes. And there is also another technique which is actually essentially doing the same thing. But this is pure CSS technique using CSS rule to specify different images regarding to the screen size. They are the same concept basically. So now let me give you an example of thing you can do to make a good first impression on mobile websites. I will pick the first example again here, which is to prioritize download of visible content. We have talked about above the fold.
Yes.
Do you remember what is above the fold, Ying?
So above the fold means that whatever that comes first in when you actually load the page, right, on your mobile site itself. So is my interpretation correct?
Yes. So basically, the thing that you will see without scrolling down.
Yes.
So without doing anything to the screen, anything that shows up first, that part is called above the fold, right? So as you can see here, to load the whole website, it might take 10 seconds. But to load the above the fold content, actually you can even cut down to 3 seconds, right? So what we recommend you to do is to make sure that you show something to the website on the website first. Don't leave the blank page there for too long, basically. Easy concept, right? So you feel, oh, this should be something easy to understand. But now you might wonder, but how, right? How do you then implement it? So if you are not a developer and you see this slide, don't get scared. I'm not here to scare you. I will try to explain what is going on. Again, I am not here to teach you to code today as well. But I would like you to understand the general concept so you can communicate with your developers more effectively, right? So basically, when you build a website, you usually hear the languages like HTML,
yes,
right? CSS, right? JavaScript. So HTML is used to build a structure of your website. Things like what are the text, what are the images, the paragraph, what are the contents on your website. CSS is used to beautify your website. So basically things like colors of the background, align images left or right. And JavaScript is to do things that is even beyond that, right? So as you can see, actually your website can just function without HTML. And that is why not all CSS and JavaScript files are critical and have not all JavaScript file is actually critical and have to be loaded at the beginning of your website, not have to be loaded at the above the fold part, right? So some of them can be prioritized and shows up later on, basically, because not all of them are critical. So basically, defer and async that we use here, it's a technique that we use to prioritize JavaScript file. This slide actually tells you how you can prioritize JavaScript when loading your website. Basically, defer and async will inform your browser to handle JavaScript differently than the usual linear loading method. For more details, you can actually check out the JS documentations. They're all available online everywhere. If you're not a developer, talk to your developer and show this slide to them. If you are a developer, I recommend you to defer or async your scripts. In some cases, it can be complicated if your site is complex. I would say it's difficult things to do than the things that we introduced just now, which is to compress the images, but it's probably worth doing. Okay. So now we know how to prioritize JavaScript loading. Like I told you, there's another thing called CSS too. This is used to beautify your website, right? So the technique that we use to prioritize CSS is on this slide. Basically, the technique is to inline the CSS that will style the above the fold and then async all other CSS, right? How can we split the critical CSS and the non-critical one? Here is the example of how you can split it, right? So we will, again, like Ying told you, we will be giving this slide after the presentation if you complete our survey too. So you can take your time to go through these examples earlier on. But what is important is that I want you to understand that basically on your websites, there are things that is critical, there are things that are less critical. And what we want you to do is that make sure that things that are critical, things that are above the fold, things that should shows up first, so that you don't leave the blank screen for users for too long. Yeah. So here should be your result, right? After prioritizing CSS and JavaScript loading, you should be able to reduce the duration of time which you leave users with blank space, right? Blank space. So this is awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Now we're down to the last thing, which is to reduce number of requests. Right? I will give you 2 examples from this list, and this is the first one. Ying, what is redirect?
Redirect, good question. That always happen with my advertisers, right? So, for example, you are loading this URL called www.abc.com, right? So when I actually load it in my browser, in split second, it actually directs me to another different URL, which is www.xyz.com, right? So in that split second, it is being redirected from abc.com to xyz. So is that correct?
Yeah, so basically these sometimes are necessary. Like you can see that certain websites say if you have a site that is more global, more international, sometimes they have sites for certain things like say Singapore site that's different from the US site.
Exactly.
Right, so when you come in like say google.com, you get redirected to .com.sg,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or things like say the languages, or things like mobile site, right? You know, sometimes you use the mobile devices and it goes to m.
Exactly,
right?
That happens very
Yeah,
often.
so these are the things that are pretty common. A redirect basically sends the user from their requested URL to another different URL, right? Each redirect actually involves an additional HTTP request cycle, and therefore it slows down the loading time, right? So avoid more than, I guess, like more than one redirect. I understand sometimes redirects are necessary, right? Like the case that we already told you, like sometimes you have a global website, sometimes you have a mobile website and stuff like that. So just try to avoid as much as possible. But if it's necessary for you, then it's by all means you can keep it. Right. The second thing, another thing is cache. Right? I'm sure you have heard of cache. Right?
Yeah.
When you have a problem with anything, people always ask you to
clear cache and cookies.
Yes.
Right?
And then I know you are like sick of that. People asking you to clear cache and cookies and stuff like that. So what exactly is cache? Basically, when you visit a website, for example, in this case, you type in google.com, right? Your internet browser, such as Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, Safari, and Firefox, will send a request to Google server, right? And then the server will send back files, like send back some files such as HTML, CSS, JavaScript to your internet browser, and your website will be displayed. Some of the files will be kept on your machine, so next time you don't have to load the whole thing, right? The green one that you see there. So instead of loading the big thing, you will then keep some of the thing in your local machine. So next time you can partially load the resources, right? It means that when caching is enabled, if your user visits your page twice, the second load is much faster, right? As pages on your site also will share many resources, it also means that if you're already on one page, other pages on the same site should also load more quickly as well. And here are the things that we recommend you to catch and things that we might not want you to catch. Right, so these are the things of the list of things that we recommend you to catch or not catch. Right. So again, before
so that's another quiz, right? Fast and accurate. So it's time for another question. So this time we have this question, which is, what are the 3 things listed in the framework for faster mobile sites? Let me repeat. What are the 3 things listed in the framework for faster mobile sites? Let's see. I see that there are a few people who has fast fingers. Okay, I'll leave Sherry to announce the winner over here.
We have Jeline again, but then because Jeline already won another one.
So thank
I'm
you so
really
much for
sorry,
your
Jeline.
spirit, Jeline, right? We'll let the next one, which is Edwin, right? Edwin, congratulations. And thank you so much once again, everyone, for your active participation. Let's move on, right? Let's see.
Yeah, so I hope you enjoy the best practices for better performance on your mobile website today that I introduced to you. So again, there were three things, right? Thank you, Jillian and Edwin and everyone who typed in. So basically three things: decrease page weight, make a good first impression, and reduce number of requests, right? If you have any further questions or you just want a good discussion, basically just go to Google and search for Google Webmaster Central Forum.
Yeah.
Right. So all the things that I talked about today can be implemented on any websites, and you can use them to hand tune your websites if you already have your website and improve your speed. However, if you're looking for a faster solution, a fast solution, or if you're just enthusiastic about new things,
Yeah.
right? You probably have heard of AMP.
Is that a shortcut, Sherry?
No, basically, I think it's just a different way of doing things, and I think Aru will be in a better position to tell you about it. So Aru is here with us today, and we'll talk about AMP on accelerated mobile pages.
Sure. Thank you, Cherry and Ying. So yeah, so you have heard about all the tips to make your mobile site faster and how to hand tune your site. So if you keep doing all these best practices, keep monitoring your website performance, and then keep doing like more optimization for your site will be blazing fast, right? But first it takes a lot of time to do it. You need to have iteration of research. So what if we have a protocol like a specification that bunch up all these best practices together and makes it easier for you to develop a fast mobile website. So we have that in something called AMP, so accelerated mobile pages. So like in this image, the vision for AMP is that to make it fast enough for users to load your mobile website. It's not going to be as fast as a hand-tuned site, but it will be faster to build. It's more scalable, and everyone can use it.
I don't know what is a hand-tuned site.
So hand-tuned site, like Cherry has mentioned, is a site that uses all the best practices for mobile speed. Use analytics to measure performance, and then keep iterating those optimization over and over again to make the best experience possible at a certain time for the users. But like I said, it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to measure your performance, look at data and everything. With AMP, all these best practices has been
fast and easy.
Has been put together in one easy protocol. So this is the difference of accelerated mobile pages with all the web pages today. So in web pages today, to show all the beautiful things, you have to have a lot of JavaScript behind it. Right? You have a lot of JavaScript behind it, but with accelerated mobile pages, it's not only you only need one JavaScript to do it. It's that AMP actually limit that you cannot use third-party JavaScript. So accelerated mobile pages has first-party JavaScript that will help you to optimize your website and run things faster. So this is actually the first thing that make AMP pages fast. So the page is very simplified. It has less JavaScript. It optimizes your bandwidth. So it automatically choose content optimized for your device with image resolution and everything. And also it does asynchronous load. So it's the best practices that Jerry has told before. It also does page caching. So Google has a lot of physical servers near your user's location. So it will store your content near to a user, and then when a user, let's say you have a user in Indonesia that will load your site from Malaysia or Singapore, or if you host it in the US, if you're using AMP, the AMP page will be stored in a server nearest to Indonesia, and then the user will fastly load the site much faster than if it's loaded from your server in the US. So yeah, with all these awesome best practices and in the protocol, it brings a lot of benefits, right? So it is fast because it's simplified, it's optimized with all the best practices. It's easy to implement because it is basically a subset of HTML. So it's the same HTML language that you or maybe your developer know before. So it's easy to implement. It's mobile friendly. It embraces the open web because it uses the same HTML protocol that you have used. It doesn't change any way it communicates to the open web. It also allows for various monetization opportunities with all the ad tech companies that we're working with. So how do you create AMP, right? So there are two options. So if you use a content management serverless or CMS, you can just talk to your CMS or see your CMS documentation. Most of them, they allow support for auto conversion to mHTML from your HTML. So if you look through the documentation, you'll see if they have the support for that. So if not, or you want to create your own mHTML by yourself and you want to customize a lot of things, you can also do that. Yes, and then all of these mHTML will have the same benefits that we see before. It will be speed up by the AMP cache, delivered through Google AdWords to your users. And like all these implementation will get a real performance improvement. So based on our internal research, AMP pages have a very fast average load time. It's less than 1 second, less than half a second actually. It's also use less bandwidth usage from images because the AMP image protocol actually use an optimization to load your images. It also uses less data, like 10 times less data. So your users can engage with more of your pages, your content, your landing pages, and everything. And also it will increase your conversion. Some of you might heard about AMP before, and you might think, oh, isn't AMP just for text? Isn't only for text publishing? Is it only for news? Well, not really. So, well, it was only for text publishing when it was conceived around 1.5 years ago, but now there's already a lot of improvements.
Exactly.
So it already allows for dynamic content. It allows AMP form. It has form. It has it can allows for shopping carousels. It has AMP bind that will allow you to bind elements and then interact with the pages dynamically. So yeah, so it's super awesome. A lot of e-commerce platforms are already using it. It's like eBay, Zalando, and then also if you're in India, Flipkart has already using it. And yeah, there's a lot of other partners that we're working with that also helps us improve AMP performance and experience for all the users in the world. So yeah, so with all these improvements and maybe some improvement that you can contribute to us, I'll tell you later how to do it. You advertisers, or maybe if you're a publisher, you can build beautiful and fast pages. So it's all customizable. You can personalize your website. You can tailor your content. You can know what your user status in. You can track logins to increase conversions. You can also use analytics to understand how users interact with your website or your web pages and how their behavior is. So yeah, so it's all very data driven too. So you can always measure what's happening on your AMP page like you would on your actual mobile site. So how do we bring all these awesome speed to AdWords? So right. So the first thing first. So why do we need to bring this to AdWords? Isn't AdWords awesome already? Well, it is awesome, but like Ying and Cherry said, we need to bring. We have already been working to improve the mobile site experience on the publishing side. Now we want to make sure that experience doesn't break when people click on ads and then go to your mobile landing pages. We want to make sure that experience doesn't break and all the users see the same experience, the same thing end to end, right? From reading a content, clicking on ads, and then going to your landing pages and then convert on your landing pages. We want them to have the same experience, same awesome experience. So why do we need to do it? Because first thing first, we see that 70% of all mobile ads landing pages actually takes 5 seconds to start rendering, which is which can be improved, I think. And then also 70% of these pages also took over 10 seconds to complete rendering the viewport. Like viewport is actually the things that's above the fold. So if it takes more than 10 seconds, then it's like it will have a very low conversion.
Yes,
like
I
Ying
would have
said.
exit the page. I
Yeah,
would definitely not be there.
And yeah, and it's also, I think one thing that does that is because it's heavy, right? It's over than 1 megabytes, so it takes a lot of data. It takes a lot of time to load the web page. So how do you do it? So we use, the solution is of course to use AMP landing pages. So AMP landing pages is a new thing that we announced a few months ago. So AMP landing pages is basically bringing AMP experience and performance to advertisers' landing pages. So it has all the same awesome benefits. Your landing page will be responsive. Your instant page, your page load will be instant on all the click trackings, and then all the redirects are sent asynchronously. So your users can instantly engage with your landing page. Yes. So like with AMP, it makes it easy to build fast and high-performing mobile websites, like I told before. And from what we see, 80% of the development teams that we're already working with in Google build AMP landing page in less than 1 week. So you can.
Wow, that's really fast.
Yeah. So you can start improving your user experience in less than 1 week. It's super fast, super easy. Gives you a lot of benefits. All the best practices that Jerry told you before. Yeah, well, so with all these faster landing pages, it also gives you bigger funnel for conversions. Why? Because then with the same amount of time, the user can engage more on your site, and then brings you bigger chance to convert. There's already a lot of brands that are using AMP to improve speed and performance. So big brands like eBay, AliExpress, Airbnb, WeGo, Rakuten, and a lot of other big known brands that you know. But yeah, before I follow up on how to get to know more about AMP, let's go with the quiz.
Okay, let's see. What's the quiz here? State 2 out of the 3 factors that makes accelerated mobile pages fast, right? State 2 out of the 3 factors that make accelerated mobile pages fast. Let's see, right? Wow. We have some fast fingers here once again. So, Aru, can you announce who is the winner over here?
So yeah, congratulations to Adrian Chia that put in like actually all 3. Yeah. So it's less or more optimized images, cache pages, and also less JavaScript for a more simplified page. So thank you so much for your participation. Let's move on to the next thing. So if you're itching to know more about AMP Accelerated Mobile Pages, go to the project page, ampproject.org. It's an open source page. It's for everyone. You can start developing right away. You can even contribute if you want to. So in ampproject.org, you will know everything you need to know about AMP. You can learn about AMP if you're just getting started, or if you want to start building, we have a getting started guide there too. You can also follow the latest news about AMP, the roadmap on AMP, like things that are coming out in the next quarter or so. Like everything will be in the ampproject.org page. So like go there right away, maybe after this webinar. Just and yeah, experience AMP for yourself. And if you want to know more or you want to talk with your developers about the technical specification of AMP, you can go to github.com/ampproject. So all the technical specifications are there. If how do you want to implement analytics, how you want to implement all the dynamic functions of the AMP page, you can just go there. There's a lot of great explanations of how all the AMP element work. And then, yeah, you can also ask questions, technical questions to the actual developers there too. Yeah, and if you want to contribute some code for AMP, or if you're actually an ad tech company that's looking to implement AMP for your company, you can always start contributing in GitHub. If you're more of a video person, you like to watch video than reading text, you can go to the AMP channel on YouTube. We have a lot of awesome video, a lot of awesome talks about AMP that will help you to understand more about AMP, the benefit of it, and how you can optimize it and customize it to your taste, right? To your needs too. Yeah. So after you started implementing, you've read more about AMP, you've watched the videos, and well, you actually want to ask questions, right? Like you might get stuck and everything. So you can ask questions about AMP at GitHub, like github.com/ampproject. You can ask questions there. The developers are there to answer your questions. You can also contribute code there. You can if you want to ask the community, you can ask your question in Stack Overflow. There's a lot of other developers in the world that's already been developing AMP for the last 1.5 years. They will be able to help you with all of your questions there too. And if you want to implement AMP for Google search, you want to optimize it for Google search, and you're stuck, you can again ask question on the Google Webmaster Central forum. We have a category dedicated for AMP on certain languages. Yes, and Cherry's there to answer your questions.
Okay, sounds good, right? Let's proceed to the last section for today, right? Which is how to optimize for mobile advertising. So how do you actually win on mobile, right? So there are 5 main guiding principles, right? First of all, it will be bidding requires context. Second, targeting must move beyond keywords. Third, formats must be immersive. Number 4, measurement must follow the customer journey. And last but not least, mobile sites must be fast, right? Which is what Aru and Sherry has been talking about, how to actually improve your mobile sites loading speed. So let's dive into the first one, right? Which is bidding requires context. With device bid adjustments, you can more precisely optimize bids for different devices based on the respective market insights and the consumer purchasing journey. In other words, right, do use device bid adjustment to address the differences in device-specific performance. So if most of your customers are, searching on you first on mobile and converting on desktop or vice versa, it is imperative to emphasize on both desktop and mobile devices instead of just focusing on the last device that is bringing you the conversions. On top of that, you can also, place a device bid adjustment ranging from -100 to +900. And I would say that avoid from phasing out a certain device entirely by placing -100 bit adjustment, as every device plays an important role in this multi-device customer journey today. So next on, right? Another thing that you need to look out for is to align your bidding strategies to your marketing objective. We would actually strongly encourage you to try out the AdWords Smart bidding strategies, such as Target CPA or Target ROAS, which leverage on machine learning to drive informed, accurate bidding decisions if revenue or conversions is actually the main marketing goal over here. Second, right, targeting must move beyond keywords, right? There are two features which you can improve. Actually, it's not two features, but two categories that you can actually improve the effectiveness and reach for your targeting itself, right? Improving the effectiveness of your targeting means the ability to segment and optimize bids for your existing most valuable mobile customers. And this can actually be done through features such as RLSAs, remarketing lists for search ads, as well as customer match lists, right? At the other hand, features such as similar audiences for search and demographics for search ads helps you to reach new customers, expanding the audience base your mobile ads can touch, right? I'm not diving deeper into each of these features. So if you like to know more about that, I will be sharing another video which you can find out what these few features are actually about. Moving on to the third point regarding formats, right? Including an ad extension to complement your mobile ads is very good because it actually provides your users with additional information and allow your users to take action directly. And also, it is proven that a new extension implementation will result in 10 to 15% of click-through rate. This has been mentioned over and over again in various webinars, and it is highly preached, right? Or highly recommended throughout Google itself. We want our advertisers to actually know how important this is. And for example, if you conduct a search on any of the airlines in Malaysia, Singapore itself that is advertising on Google, you will then notice that their ad is actually slightly longer than usual. It's actually, it contains like site links extensions, and that's because they have actually used up there's actually leverage on the extension features itself, right? So do use the extensions if you are advertising on Google search. As you can see, there's actually a wide offering of ad extension for every marketing objective. You should be implementing at least these two, right? Site links and call out extensions. And also another news that I'd like to share with all of you is that right now, starting from I think last month, you can now create structured snippets in all AdWords languages, right? Previously, it was only available in certain languages. Like for example, it was not available in Malay language. Right now, it's available in all AdWords languages. So I'd like to highlight that all these extensions are automatically determined on an auction-based basis, so it may not be present all the time. Number 4, measurement must follow the customer journey, right? The vast majority of our advertisers are still using the last click model, which only measures a user's final touch point. So let's say today, right, let me just give you an example. Aru wants to buy flowers for his loved one, right? Maybe a girlfriend, maybe his mother, right? And he wants to know exactly which florist would satisfy his needs. So he actually carried out several searches, right? So first of all, he searched flowers on mobile, and then later on he became more specific. He said search flowers in Singapore on his mobile as well. And later on he found that, I think that I'm going to give buy flowers for my girlfriend actually. So he's going to type in roses in Singapore on his mobile itself. And last but not least, right, once he has actually identified that particular florist, he decided to actually convert on on desktop itself. So that's why he searched roses in Singapore once again on desktop, and then click on that particular link and converted eventually, right? So here you can see that the search roses, the keyword which is roses in Singapore, and the device which is desktop is actually showing as the device and the keyword that is bringing the advertiser the business opportunity, while neglecting other existing keywords and devices, right? Whatever keywords that you see before that, flowers or even like the mobile devices, are all being neglected. 100% of the credits is actually given to roses in Singapore as well as to the desktop. So given the changing user landscape, right, we need to actually use attribution to fully understand the impact of each touch point in the user journey, right? It's very important to revisit the approach by understanding the impact of each touch point throughout the journey, so that you will be able to fully value the the various devices, right, and beyond the last click conversion itself. So depending on how the marketers view on the conversion path itself, right, you can actually use different attribution models which distributes credits differently across the conversion path, right? So let's say you want to give more credit, 100% credit to the first touch point, right? It will be the first click, right? Because you see that 100% is given to the first one. Or you want to actually give equal credits to all touch points. That will be the linear attribution model itself, right? So right now we have come to the end of this webinar, right? Thank you so much once again for your questions, for your active participation, right? We know that this is actually a mobile first world right now, right? All of you own a mobile. I'm pretty sure that you are checking your phone while you tune into this webinar as well, right? So if you want to know more about a few guiding principles about how to effectively advertise on mobile itself, I would strongly encourage you to check out this video, which is the link here, right? My colleagues has actually previously talked about this on the previous webinar, and it's very, very detailed, very, very comprehensive. Strongly encourage you to look at that. So right now, right, we are now at the Q&A section. We have been trying to answer some of your questions in the Q&A box itself, but really, really appreciate that like all of you has been very, very curious, right, and being active on the Q&A box. Let's try to look at that Q&A box right now, and perhaps Sherry or Aru can also help to address those questions. Just one moment, yeah. So right here, right, we have a question, right? Is AMPJS, right, capable of compressing the image on the load, right? Aru, could you help us to shed some light over here?
Right. So AMP actually use like their own elements. So instead of using the image element on HTML like img tag, we use the called amp-img tag. So this element will use MJS to compress and optimize image on the load. But we do still need to have SRC set, or maybe a CSS rule, like the best practices that Cherry has already informed to you before. Like that will also help us in compressing the right image for your devices. So let's say for tablet, we'll load the bigger images, but we'll compress it in our cache, so it's loaded faster. But if we only have one image for the whole devices, then it might not be as efficient as if you define a lot of images.
Okay, right. So we have another question over here, right? Can I have a look at it? Yes. I think that
It's
Aru,
for
this is
Aru.
actually dedicated to you as well. It's actually from Edwin Lau, right? Edwin has been predicting, actually, Edwin predicted the right quiz question earlier on, right? Very, very good. I can become a fortune teller right now. So let's proceed quickly to the next question by Edwin now.
Mhm.
Can I clarify AMP equals to no ads, right? Aru, can you help
Right.
with that?
Well, I can clarify that AMP is actually come with ads and other monetization options.
Mhm.
So yeah, so with AMP you can definitely implement ads in there. We do use a certain element too, called AMP ad. It will optimize the ad loading and ad serving on the AMP page itself. We are also working on creating AMP ad creatives. That way, you can also create a more mobile first experience for your ad creatives too.
Thank you so much, Aru, for telling us more about that. And now let me just address the next question, which is also by Edwin Lau itself, right? Edwin has been very, very active on the Q&A box. I really like your spirit over there. So your question is it is so I think that you are actually referring to structured snippets itself, right? When I actually mentioned that it's now available on all languages. So just now I mentioned that it's actually available on all AdWords languages. What it means is that it will be available on any languages that you can actually see from the language targeting in your AdWords system itself, right? So I do know that certain languages right now, it is still not available on Google AdWords, but as long as you can see that language being present in your AdWords account in the language setting, language setting section itself, you can then create structured snippets in that particular language. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. Anything else? Let's see, right?
I think I have one for Aru.
Another one for Aru. Aru has
I
been
took all
very,
my
very
questions
busy.
on the chat, so
Yeah.
Okay.
I
So
already
let's
took
see,
my
right?
chance.
This is actually from Edwin. No, it's not from
no.
Edwin. This time it's actually from Jason Tan, right?
Yeah.
So we need to create a separated page for AMP. Is that right?
Um, yes and no. So like I said, so like I've talked to you before
Mhm.
about. So HTML is actually HTML. So you can choose between creating two different versions, like an HTML page and the AMP version of it, or if you want to go full AMP, you could just start creating AMP HTML for your site from scratch, which is very advisable. But if you wanna if you want to do an A/B testing, you want to see if it works for you or not, you can start creating a different version, the app version for your site first.
Okay, cool. Aru, another question for you.
Sure,
Yeah?
sure.
So this time it's actually from Where to Go Philippines, right? This user is asking, can I implement M to my WordPress site?
Yes. So WordPress actually. So we've been working with Automatic, the WordPress creator, to create a AMP WordPress plugin. So if you use that plugin, WordPress will automatically create an AMP version of your WordPress page. So it's easy as a plugin implementation for WordPress.
So here, another question as well. Says that AMM already has catch, right? This is actually coming from Suras himself, right? So do I still need to use SW toolbox used in PWA progressive web apps?
Yeah, so this is actually another question.
Yeah, this is another question altogether, very advanced. Yes,
So
right?
yeah, well, I can help a little bit with that. So progressive web app, again. So if anybody doesn't know what progressive web app is, it's basically to create a mobile app like experience on the web. So it's on Google developer site. If you want to check it out, go there and check it out. So SW tool, what Suresh said,
Yeah.
SW tool is actually service worker that will also help to cache your um, uh, the content of the site locally. So it works differently as AMP cache. So AMP cache is to store your AMP content as close as possible to your users in a Google physical server. Service worker is actually to download some of your content to your user's device so they can engage on it when they are offline. So it works differently for different purposes.
Okay, do we still have any questions? It seems like we are running out of time over here, right? We'll try to answer, any other leftover question through an email itself. We will be sending out the solutions to the questions that are not being answered in the email itself to anyone who have actually filled up this survey or rather the feedback form itself, right? So right now, let me just share with you what is the survey link, right? So this is actually the survey link, and for all winners, right, please remember to provide your name, your phone number if possible, right, and all your email address as well as your home or office address, basically where you want your present to be posted to, right? Once again, from Google Singapore, we thank you so much, for joining us today and for all your active participation. Really, really love your energy right there. We hope to see you once again in the upcoming webinar, right? And thank you so much, Sherry and Aru, for joining us today. I'm pretty sure that all our viewers over there benefited a lot, and I hope that you will actually action upon it, right? Start to have these conversations with your developer. Tell them that, hey, I've heard about M. Can you actually implement M in my website itself, right? So remember, after listening this, remember to take action, right? This is very important, and I hope that you left you leave with something or rather a takeaway. Yeah. Thank you so much once again, and goodbye. Bye.
Bye.